Jumbo, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday, April 10th, 2024. I'm Joe Pratt, keeping you updated on what's happening in the world. Happy birthday to those of you born today. You share a birthday with William Booth, the founder of the Salvation Army, Joseph Pulitzer, Harry Morgan of MASH fame, John Madden, Steven Seagal, Mandy Moore, and Haley Joel Osment. He's 36 today, by the way. President Biden called Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's handling of the war in Gaza a mistake. He is reportedly putting more pressure on Israel for a ceasefire and for them to give residents in Gaza more aid. In Russia, there is an investigation begun into the death of Alexei Navalny, an opposition leader. He died in prison, as you remember, and his death is still unexplained. Russia is extending the deadline for the investigation. At the same time, Russia is cracking down on dissidents even more. They are expanding a wanted list of people critical to the Ukraine war or anything against the government. Thousands have been fined or briefly jailed for speaking out against the war or the government in general. The United Nations climate chief says we have 2 years left. Simon Steele says we have 2 years left to save the world and even less time to get the money together to make drastic changes. There's a deadline set by the UN in 2025 next year to put stronger plans in place to curb carbon pollution. Steele pointed out that nearly half of the world's population will be voting in elections for leadership of their respective countries this year. In Kansas, they passed a bill that would make it a crime to coerce someone into an abortion. And in Arizona, the Supreme Court upheld a ban on most abortions. The only exception is if the mother's health is in danger. That law in Arizona was passed in 1864. The FCC is now requiring internet service providers to be more transparent in disclosing their fees and costs so you know exactly what you're paying for. The FCC is requiring specific labels, much like the nutrition labels that you see on food. 2 Native American tribes are suing social media companies, saying they are responsible for the disproportionately large number of teen suicides. The lawsuit describes a sophisticated and intentional effort that has caused a continuing, substantial, and long-term burden to the tribe and its members. In sports, for the first time ever, the NCAA women's basketball final had higher rating than the men's final. 18.9 million to 14.8 million. The women's game more than doubled last year's viewership, and the men's was up 1/10,000,000 too from last year. The reason? Caitlin Clark. She set records in scoring all year and nearly single-handedly took her team to the championship. Her team took second place to South Carolina, but everyone was watching her. Anthony Edwards scored 51 points last night as Minnesota won a game they needed to win to remain in position for the number 1 seed. A climbing athlete, Anouk Garnier, has set a world record by climbing a rope 110 meters up the Eiffel Tower. This rope climb is hand over hand like we used to do in gym class, although I will say she used her feet to grip the rope, unlike what we tried to do with our knees back in the day. One of golf's biggest events, the Masters tournament, begins in Augusta, Georgia tomorrow. Jon Rahm is the defending champion. Many cities and countries that have hosted the Winter Olympics have been hesitant to hold them again because of the costs involved and logistics, but Salt Lake City, Utah is both willing and able to hold the Olympics there once again. The International Olympic Committee is in Salt Lake for their final site visit before they vote officially in July. It is expected that Salt Lake will get the bid for the 2004 Winter Olympics. We reported a few days ago that the oldest man in the world, Juan Vicente Perez, had died, and that made the title pass to the man by the name of John Alfred Tenniswood of England. He is 111 and was born just a few months after the sinking of the Titanic. In music, the top 5 songs in the Billboard Hot 100 this week are not much different than last week, rearranged a little bit. Number 5 is Lose Control by Teddy Swims. 4 is Too Sweet by Hozier. 3 is Beautiful Things by Benson Boone. Number 2 is Texas Hold'em by Beyonce. And number 1 is Like That by the team of Future, Metro Boomin, and Kendrick Lamar. The number 1 album is Cowboy Carter by Beyonce. A trolley driver in Massachusetts paid a man $2,000 to attack him while wearing a Halloween costume. This was so he could fraudulently collect workers' comp and disability insurance. The peace of God. Oh, this is from in religion, in the Bhagavad Gita. There's a quote from the Bhagavad Gita which says, "The peace of God is with them whose mind and soul are in harmony, who are free from desire and wrath, who know their own soul." And finally, a marquee sign on a business that says, "When life gets tough, it's time to do some weird stuff to your hair." Joe Pratt, make it a great day.